Okay. It don't really, like, I don't know. I feel like we're going live, but I don't know for sure if we're going live. Like, it's a lot of things that we just don't know. So, hold on. Like, it don't do a countdown or nothing. It just start talking. Like, you know. Girl. Am I going live or what? Because it doesn't tell you, like, hey, you're live. It just says start, stop. You know, like, okay, I guess we're live. It's day 2, y'all. So what have we done for day 2? I guess we're live. I just want to make sure I'm live before I start talking. Okay. All right. It says I'm live. So I guess that's it. Okay. Anyway, what have we done since we got in here? So I have hooked up my camera. And I have my mic on here because I felt like the audio was different, but I'm not sure if it's working. There's no way for me to, like, test. I'm using the software, and the software is different. I don't know, but I have my camera. Also, if the camera, because we're on the battery, we need a dummy battery. I'm talking out loud to remind myself. But anyway, we have plenty of batteries, and we have the webcam on backup just in case my camera act funny. So we got a whole bunch of batteries and everything like that. But today is Friday, you guys. Let me get my notes. I'm not gonna lie, I was really, really happy with how our live went last time or whatever. Like, I really, really enjoyed being live and direct. You know, like, I really enjoyed it. Only thing, I'm looking at the lighting, you know, because on the camera, it looks like it's good lighting. But on the thing, it looks gray. And I'm not getting that either because we have lights and it looks bright on the camera, but on the thing, it looks gray. And that's how it looks when I get ready to edit my videos. I was like, maybe if we go live, things will look better. But it's... And I have all the lights on, y'all. I have all the lights on. I'm in the living room. I have a window open. I don't understand why. My foundation looks really good too. By the way, it really does, you know. Anyway, this is my cup. So I actually had a parent give this to me. Yeah. The parents, shout out to the parents. They be like, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Speaking of that, before we get into the video, we testing it. Hopefully I'm not too loud because the mic is right here and I'm loud normally. I don't know. This is a test video, okay? Test video. But anyway, tell me why in my last video we were talking about TNT, you know, and these children, such angels, have figured out how to go kaboom with the Chromebooks. You know what? That's why we planning our escape right now. That's why, because ain't no way, y'all. Let me tell you, ain't no way, because nobody's coming up here for that. Nobody coming up here to be going to smithereens like that for real. Like, no, period. Anyway, so in this video, I'm getting off topic. Has nothing to do with the video. Okay, so this video, I changed the title. It was connecting with the divine feminine and healing mother wounds. But I don't know, I just feel like that's a little left. I feel like this video is more about, it's about to be Mother's Day, right? It's about to be Mother's Day, and if you watch my last video, then you know what's going on in my family with the mother. Mom is having surgery and different things of that nature, you know. And it said, so I was thinking more along the lines, becoming the mother you never had, a spiritual vibe to get you to your self-love. And so yeah, like it's a little deep. It's a little deep. Yes, I have my dog stuff all over the house. She got so many stuffed animals. Anyway, let me get comfortable, because this is a very touchy subject, especially because I feel like Mother's Day is coming up. And, you know, shout out to the people that have their mothers, don't have their mothers, lost their mothers, and different things of that nature. But then also shout out to the girls that didn't always have, you know, perfect relationships with their mother. That would be myself, because we love our mom, we do. But things were not always fantabulous, if you will. And I just wanted to share my journey, and really just to hold space for the people that might be experiencing, or, you know, just to have that dialogue or whatever. And so the main thing is, you know, with the divine feminine, I feel like that's a buzzword where people talk about like the feminine aspect of God. You know, it might be hard for you to connect with that energy if you've had, you know, circumstances in your life where you don't necessarily identify with the feminine aspect because you didn't have a good relationship with your mom. Most people, I would say, are parentified, especially if you're the oldest daughter, you know, and you have siblings. You're helping, taking care of the family, taking care of the kids, doing all of these different things. And you miss out on having your childhood. Like your childhood gets, I'm sorry if I'm nervous, because I am nervous, but it's like your childhood gets cut short, right? And trying to have that conversation like with the family to try to get them to understand, it's like talking to a brick wall, because it's like, I did it, my mom did it, everybody in the family has done it, you know, get over it. It's normal, you know, but it's just kind of like it creates that resentment within yourself, because, you know, I don't know, y'all. Like, when I always wanted to be like a stay-at-home mom. Don't lie, I thought stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home wife, or something like that. People laugh at me, but I always wanted to be there for my kids. Like, that was very, very important for me to be there. I feel like in this day and age, we are working so much, we don't necessarily have the time to dedicate to our families. Not saying that, you know, because you got the people that are just crazy, that are just like, they want to keep you barefoot and pregnant and everything like that. But it's just kind of like, sometimes you're parentified out of family obligation. Like, there's no other choice. Like, we need childcare. You see what I'm saying? So that's just, and that's how it was always done. So you have the older sibling looking out for the younger siblings and different things of that nature. That's just how it's always been. But it's like, you know, parents that have to work a lot, you know, they don't have time to, you know, sit with their kids. A lot of times, you know, they don't even know their kids. Excuse the noise, okay? They don't even know their children. Like, they don't spend time with them or anything. That's how they can sit up here and watch something on TikTok and go up, you know, and go up there and make different choices, right? Because you don't know your children. You don't know that. My child would never do that. Your child did that. Your child, you need to get him into some engineering. You need to get him into some STEM. You need to get him signed up, okay? But it's just like, we don't know our kids. We don't know our children. And it's because we're in this system where we have to work. We have to give our kids up to some other, like, we got to keep them occupied with something so that we can do other things, but we don't get to be present in the moment. So you end up being emotionally neglected because you never had anybody looking after you like that, right? And then that's just the one layer of being parentified, right? Say you have a narcissistic parent, right? Say you have a narcissistic parent. And so it's a new layer. It's a new layer. So you're already neglected because you really don't get to experience childhood as a child. You are now having to take on the responsibilities of an adult, right? You having to, like in certain situations when things happen, you should be able to cry, but you can't cry because you have to hold it together for someone else. Crying is a natural response to whatever, the stimuli. But say you know what I'm saying? You have to hold that in. That creates an issue where you're not able to be vulnerable with people. And it's this multi-layered of a cake, if you will, of trauma, and just not being able to access those feelings. Okay, and all of this is going to get connected at the end. I promise. I have a point. So the other part is like, say your parent is narcissistic, and so everything is about appearances, the way things look. I was told that appearance is 9/10 of the law. As long as you suck it up and look good, everything is going to work out. You know what I mean? Even you don't put your business out on Front Street, or put it on the sidewalk for people to kick it out into the street. And so that creates a dynamic where children don't feel comfortable speaking out. In fact, if you do speak out, you become the scapegoat. You become the problem, the black sheep of the family, and then they gaslight you and you're lying. You know what I'm saying? All of this stuff, without getting into too much, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's deep. It is deep when you have to deal with that. And then what I'm learning is that, our families can be so consumed with, staying together. They don't really consider what exactly are we staying together for. Everybody talks about the matriarchs and how, you have your grandmama, right, passes away and different things, and it seems like the family falls apart. But my question is, what exactly were we staying together for? It seems like everybody always felt this way, but now that we have this, matriarch going, now people can be honest in their feelings. We don't have to be around people that we don't want to be, you know what I'm saying? We was doing it out of respect for grandmama, but now that she's gone, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Because you had that person that was like, hey, y'all need to get together. But when we got together, we were not addressing a lot of things swept under the rug, and it's just kind of like, how can you connect to the divine feminine if your connection to feminine energy, your mother, the matriarch, is messed up? It's the conduit for all things trauma. How do you connect with that? Some effects of not being able to connect with that energy is, overcompensating with that masculine energy, always feeling like you have to do and be in action. Instead of being a human being, you are now a human doing. Like, you always got to be doing something. You can't just exist. You have to figure out a way, like logic, analytical. And that's very much my energy. Plan, strategize. I just got me a new planner, by the way. Let me tell you, I love a good dupe. I have transitioned from bags to my planner. Okay, because I have two planners. I'm gonna show you the other one, but I have this one. I have a good time, I promise. Anyway, but yeah, like planning and different things of that nature. And I'm finding within myself, like, I don't have to always be doing. doing. You know, even if you want to like do your purpose, I'm sorry if I hit this because I saw it go red. Anyway, like even if you want to do your purpose, I'm trying to attack it like grad school. I'm trying to attack it like it's a workout program, and I need to do more, put out more content, do this. And here I am finding comfort with just going live and being in my natural element. Like I really enjoy that. Even though I don't know if I'm even making sense, I don't know what's going on, I'm working the technology out, I'm figuring it out, but it's just kind of like just finding joy in creating is really helping me. And you know, whether people see it or resonate with it or not, it's something that I'm doing for myself. I feel like when you have a problem like with a narcissistic parent or whatever, it's just kind of like, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. If it isn't within the confines of their algorithm, then it doesn't make sense. It's not worth doing because somebody else doesn't understand it, right? It doesn't really matter whether or not other people understand what it is that you're trying to do. The only person that matters is really you. It's just you. You know what I mean? It's not for everybody to understand. The words that come to mind is no eyes can see, no ears can hear, and no minds can understand the mighty plan. You're welcome. Anyway, but it's just like connecting with that energy. Another thing is, hold on, let me make sure because I was doing it off the dome, and I don't want to, you know what I mean? When I get into it, I get into it, right? Okay. So healing those mother wounds. And for people that don't know what mother wounds, it's just the psychological trauma that you go through. And it can be a mother wound, it could be a father wound, it's a parental wound, you know. And I'm gonna be honest with you, doing research, you know, it's like I feel like I have mother and father wounds because I don't want to ever I have a good relationship with my parents now, and we're able to have these conversations, healthy dialogue or whatever, after they've been blocked for a period of time. We've been able to have the conversation because I'm not going to lie, within myself, when I'm not feeling it, I get stone cold. They call me the ice queen out here in these streets. I am not talking to you, okay? We're not talking. We're not going back and forth. I'm not going to argue with nobody. I don't believe in that, right? I said what I said. You said what you said, and then that's that. I don't agree. You don't agree. I'm not going to have no discourse with you. I'm not, because growing up, I never got to, like most kids, you never really had that healthy discourse with your parent. It was their highway. It's their way or the highway, right? And so now it's just like, I'm not going to argue. I'm grown now. So it is what it is, right? I don't have to go toe to toe with you. Just like we didn't go toe to toe, I don't have to go toe to toe. And so that is a problem in itself, because you teach that like your voice doesn't matter. Your ideas doesn't matter. You being a person does not matter, right? And a lot of parents be like, it's not that deep. It is that deep, because here's the thing. Having worked in education, like I be trying to talk to parents and like let them know, like, hey, these are some behaviors that I'm seeing within your child. It can be disheartening and very disappointing as a parent to hear like, this is what's happening with my child, because that is your child. Most parents believe that their child is an extension of themselves and their family, and certain behaviors that's not what we're going to do, right? And they fail to realize that kids, whether you have your child, but your child becomes, that's a whole new person. That person is not you. How they do things is going to be completely different. How they respond to things, completely different. Their personality is going to be different, and they're going to make different choices. Now, if you have not provided them the foundation, or if you have provided them the foundation and it's not resonating with them and they're choosing to go their own way and it's outside of your algorithm, then that is a conversation that you need to have, right? For example, when I was a teacher, I taught third grade, and I noticed that the child was lazy and it was causing the child to get a C. Okay, now here's the thing. A C is passing. So no, I'm not going to be calling parents about no C. Your child going to get a C and we're going to keep it pushing. Now, I don't start calling until your child start tapping into a D, right, or a F. Because that's when I have to start letting y'all know, hey, your child might not be making it out of this grade. So let's see what we can come up with a plan. But a C, most parents are happy with average, but some parents are not happy with average. I had a parent, she was like, my child is an A-B student. I said, well, your child is not performing at that level. These are some behaviors that I'm noticing, and this is why I think that, okay? Your child does not put forth any effort. Your child, we turn it in homework, but when it comes to doing the classwork and participation, and I'm not saying that a child have to participate, because when I was in school, I didn't really want to talk to everybody like that. But what I'm saying is I did my work. I did the homework and I did the classwork. I did whatever I was supposed to do in the classroom. So whether or not you vibrant, talking and everything like that, no, you do not have to be talking like that. Just turn your work in and I will get, like I see, that's some effort. You put forth effort. He ain't doing that. He do just enough. He don't even halfway put his name on his paper. He don't care. He do not care. And so I was explaining that, and she just was very adamant about the fact that her child is an A-B student. I said, okay, he's not performing on that level, but please, I will review it and I will get back to you, right? But she was making problems. She was making problems, and she was very, like, she was trying to take it up to the tippy top. And I said, okay, now I have to investigate. Okay, listen. Scorpio moon, very investigative. Now I have to cross-reference the handwriting. And I'm noticing a discrepancy between the handwriting on the homework that goes home with the parent and what it looks like in the classroom. The child is not providing annotations like we are supposed to do. Everybody, this is an exemplar of someone that has a 100 in the class, a 95, an A in the class, and this is what he's doing. This is the expectation of everybody in the classroom. He is not doing the expectation. Aside from anything that I have my hands on, let's look at the computer. They have to do a diagnostic, and this is what happened on the diagnostic. This is what happened at the middle of the year test they have to do on the computer. I'm not grading nothing. I'm just looking at what he's doing on the thing. We're supposed to use the computer test as the actual assessment grade, and this is what he's doing here. Okay, he did not fail, so there is no retest. He gets the C. You lose, right? And it's just kind of like, parents don't get it sometimes. Like, your child, that is who your child is. They have their own personality, their own work ethic. And I told her, she got mad at this. And after this, she took the child out of my class. But the child will not perform because the child knows that you are going to fight the battle for him. He's smart enough to know that he ain't got to do nothing, because you gonna come up here and do it for him. So why? What incentive does he have to be exceptional if his mother is going to do it for him? Amen. I would have loved to have a mother like that, but that's what it is. And now you have lucked up and got the wrong teacher. Now, if you would have just left me alone, I probably would have gave him a B, but that's neither here nor there. You know what I mean? That is neither here nor there. It's just kind of like parents think that their kids are extensions of themselves, little mini me's, and they might be, but don't be mad if your child has their own personality, their own, you know what I mean? And that, like, having a narcissistic mother or a narcissistic father that wants everything to be within the confines of their thing, that creates negative trauma, like, to the child, because your confidence is below. Because, like, say your parent didn't believe in your dream. Your parent don't believe in you and all this other stuff, then you don't believe in your dream. You don't believe that anything that you want to do is worth doing, because you see how and that's why I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Listen, because we don't really get how, like, that those development years, they're so important to the development of the child. If the child in their development, like when the brain is just being formed, if we don't get that right, they gonna be messed up forever. Like forever. Girl, I want to be there for my kids. I want to know my children. I want to be a better mother. Not saying that I hated like my mom or anything like that. It's just kind of like being a parentified daughter, you see how things are going and you realize like, hey, life is happening. And life is something different than these fairy tale Disney movies and things like that. Bills are something. Like I'm learning about bills, balancing a checkbook at an early age. We learn that, you have to make more money. And if we don't have this thing called money, then the emotional response can be detrimental. Like when the money's not right, nobody in the house is feeling good. We don't have the things that we need. It creates a money womb right there. You know what I'm saying? And then you might have a negative outlook on money, and then you might also have bad spending habits or whatever, because like we ball till we fall, right? That's what we do. We get some money and we have a good time, and then that money run out, and then you see what I'm saying? And so it creates happening in your development years, and it's hard to break out of that when you're growing up. And these are things that we do not talk about in our families. And yeah, like everybody can't be a stay-at-home mom. Everybody can't do that because we have to take care, but it's very important for us to be intentional when we're having kids. Another thing, this hits home right here. Sometimes, okay, I don't want you to come out of the bag on me. Sometimes we have kids for selfish reasons, okay? Sometimes we have kids for selfish reasons. I did the research. Speaking from experience, sometimes our parents, they had it for selfish reasons. Girl, I was a planned baby. You didn't hear from me, and I'll deny it if you ever bring it up. But it's just like, dang. You know what I'm saying? And so that creates animosity with the dad and everything like that. I mean, dad gonna take care of whatever. But it's just kind of like, girl, plots and plans. It's hilarious. But it's just kind of like, so you have a child for a selfish reason because you wanted something and you wanted to have your needs met. But again, going back to my previous point, that children are their own people, their own, you know what I'm saying? And so that creates a negative dynamic. So all of these different decisions that our parents made to get us here, and while we're here, it creates all of these different plugs within our psyche. And, a lot of people got problems, but we don't never like look at how these problems affect the greater thing. So say you have a parent, they have kids for their own reasons or whatever. You have the first child, then you have the second, and you have the third. Well, I had a child, I had more kids because I wanted y'all to have siblings. But the other children, like, we probably didn't want to have siblings. We probably didn't want to be taking care of the other kids. I did this because I wanted this. Like, who said I don't? You see what I'm saying? You didn't choose to be here. Well, if we didn't choose to be here, then why wouldn't you make life better for us? If we didn't choose to be here, why wouldn't you want us to have a better experience instead of recreating the experience that you had? Sometimes our parents don't want us to be better than them. That's the other tea. That's all of that in there. It's all in there. These are things we don't discuss. We do not be discussing the multi-layered part of it, because when you talk to your parents or you try to have a family discussion or whatever, and you start bringing up these big old words like narcissistic and parentified and all of that other stuff, nobody really understand what that means. They don't get it. They're like, you using all, you got your fancy degree, you think you know everything. They don't take that stuff seriously. It's like, y'all always got a new name, a new label for all these different things. But when you explain it to them, right, and you try to understand things from a greater standpoint, like, more than likely, this is happening because it happened when they, you know what I'm saying? Like, you probably wasn't gonna be the first person that was parentified. My dad raised all of his siblings and his cousins. It happened like that. Probably a product of slavery. But the thing is, we're not slaves anymore, so we don't have to create negative, toxic family dynamics for the future generations. You understand? So it's like, we need to do better by our kids. And that's going to have to start with, one, you need to know who your kids are. Even if you go into work or whatever the case may be, you need to know who your children are. Okay? You need to know your kids. Look, learning from all of this stuff, because I feel like you can have a negative relationship with your mom. You can have a negative relationship with your dad. But the thing is, the only thing that they were ever supposed to do was to give you life. You were just supposed to get here. Like, after that, you got to play the cards that you were dealt. Okay? A lot of times, I'm sorry if I'm stumbling on my words. I forget that we're live. But a lot of times, we get so hung up on the pain that was caused. You see what I'm saying? The pain that was caused, the trauma and everything, and we just can't move on, and we're in a constant state of feeling like we need to heal ourselves, in a constant state feeling like we can't do anything, like we become that negative voice. It used to be the parent, now it's us causing these problems. And the thing is, I'm not gonna say that the mother is deeper than the father, but I feel like that mother wound is, because that's your first, like, your mother is like your first God in a way. Not to get too woo-woo, but like, you're born from her, like, you're born from her bowels. You come out. The things that you, like, she's eating, the things that you hear while you're inside, you know what I'm saying? The circumstances surrounding it all affects you before you even breathe out. And I'm not even like pro-life or nothing like that. Okay, I'm not pro-life. But what I'm saying is, these dynamics that exist before you even pop out all play, have something to do with how your life and how your psyche, everything, how it's gonna be. Okay, so all they was supposed to do was give you life, but you have to determine whether or not you're going to be successful. You have to determine whether or not you are going to be happy in spite of what has happened to you, because we get into that, I gotta heal, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you right now, I have blocked my parents. I have, because I was trying to figure out, what? You know what I mean? Like, I just be like, man, I love my parents, but I'm not trying to be the adult for the parent. Like, why I gotta be the adult? That's a conversation I be having with my grandma. Like, why I gotta, and I don't like talking to the older generation either, because, like, y'all be trying to just hold on to the family. Never mind what the family is doing. You like to, enable the bad behavior. And I'm not about enabling bad behavior. Everybody stay in judgment, including myself. And we need to have conversations. We have to set those boundaries. Tough decisions have to be made. When you talk about setting boundaries, like, either we're going to do this and we're going to respect each other, or we're not having anything to, like, we're not talking. That's what that is. And it's hard to do that in our community, because, like, say you have to depend on your family financially. Let me explain something to you. Like, girl, I was never like a bad child. Like, I wasn't like a bad child. Not saying that you have to be bad to deserve anything happening to you, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, like, but me and my mom just did not have, like, the choices that I feel like were being made were not good choices. Not the choices that I would have made. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, ask you your opinion and then make your own choice. that's independent, right, of everybody. And then I learned that, and it's, you see, and here's the other thing, like, you can't experience like a crazy family dynamic and you can recreate, right? If you're not careful, you can recreate the dynamic because you weren't paying attention. Okay, I was paying attention, and so I was like, okay, well, excuse me, I don't want to create that. So I have a long list of things that will not be happening. Namely, you don't ask a child how they feel about something, one, that they're not mentally capable of understanding. But say they are mentally capable of understanding, you don't ask them, what do you think about it? And then you make a choice opposite of their things. You don't make choices for yourself when you have children, because it's not just you. And again, going back to my other point, talk about narcissism. A lot of our parents made choices because they wanted to make that choice. Mama gotta have a life too, right? But your life should not come at the cost of your children. And here's the other part, right? And this the other part, right? Our parents make choices. Our parents make the choice to do whatever it is that they want with their life, right? And wherever it gets them, that's where it gets them. But then, you know, I don't want you to be making sacrifices into your adulthood based off the choices. And I'm gonna give you an example. I feel like my mom made a lot of sacrifices to get wherever she wanted to be. My dad makes sacrifices too. They made sacrifices to have whatever life that they want, and it came at the expense of their children. Okay, now they're getting old. And I love them, and we have this conversation, and we joke, and we talk, and we have a good time. But I'm serious about it. You make your choices in your young ages, right? To the detriment of your children. And now that you're getting old, you want your children to take care of you. And see, that's how they end up in a home. That's how. People be like, how can parents end up in a home? That's how they end up in a home. That is exactly how they end up in the home. That is how they do it. And if you only got, you know what I'm saying, that one child that was paying attention and doing and everything like that, like, yeah, like, no, nobody is going to be having to deal with all this stuff in the as a child. Now we an adult. No, that's not gonna happen like that. You know, it's a great conversation. It's a great conversation. But you know what? I also still hold space for my parents, because it's like, they were 20. Like, my mom was 20 years old. She was in college when she decided to have me. Yes, she made the choice. And you know what? That is hilarious to me. Girl, I was in psychology class. My mom went to school for psychology. I was there. I was there with her, you know, while she was in school. She chose that, you know, and it's hilarious. Hold on. Somebody, oh no, give me a minute. She was literally like, my mom chose like 20 years old. I couldn't imagine like having a child at 20 years old. Like, when I was 20 years old, I was in college, I was at Howard, and you know what I was doing? I think I went out the country, and I didn't tell my grandmother, and she was like, why is T-Mobile saying that you're out of the country? And I'm like, girl, I don't know why. I'm sorry, Granny. I don't know. Are you sure that T-Mobile is not saying that? Who's out the country? She's like, T-Mobile is saying that you're out of the country. Somebody, one of us on the line. I'm at home. So where are you? And I'm like, okay, I might be in Dominican Republic. I might be out there. I don't know. And she's like, who told you could go to? That's what I was doing when I was 20 years old. I was going out of the country. I was spending like, I got my first little refund check in college, y'all. And I went to Forever 21, and I spent $700 at Forever 21. It was popular back then. My grandmother in Mississippi would review the bank statements And she was like, she waited until I went to sleep, and she would call me in the middle of the night and wake me up. Like, she would call like over and over and over and over again until I answered the phone. And she was like, who told you that you could go to Forever 21? And what are you buying? What's in Forever 21 that you spending $700? Like, who told you? Like, and I'm like, it's my money. Man, you talking about a good curse out. You say, you know what I'm saying? Like, just some good, it just came out so eloquently the way she went off on me. Because girl, I don't care if it is your money. I better see all 700. Go whatever you bought. I hope you got the tags, because you will be returning that. And I better see a credit on the account. Like, yeah, the type of parentals. But it's just kind of like, I forgive my parents. They were in no shape or form prepared to be like parents at 20. So yeah, they made selfish decisions, because at the time of them having kids, they were 20. They were 20. You know what I'm saying? They were listening to 2 Live Crew, Pop That C. That's what they were doing. Gen X. Like, my parents, listen. And you know what? I did more research on my parents. I noticed, I looked at their birth charts, and I was like, so what is the difference between one parent and the other parent, and what even attracted them together? Like, it's hilarious. Like, my mom, very much organized, you know, just college girl, and my dad was a hoodlum. he was if you ODB, if you could think of that rapper, that's who he reminds me of, right? And so yeah, like the whole dynamic, like, I forgive my parents. We have these conversations, and I wanted to have the conversation with y'all because, you know, when you're talking with your parents and you're talking with your family, it's important to, like, you don't want to talk down to them, but you also want to get your point across. Like, you know, yeah, y'all did these things to me, but I looked at it, I reviewed the footage, I looked over your life, and I forgive you for what you did. But luckily, I have parents that are willing to have those conversations. Like, they want to talk. It did take me blocking them. Let's be clear. I blocked my parents. I did. We had good times because they're both fireballs, and all of that energy is within myself. And so the point of me even telling you my family is, I feel like it's so easy to dismiss our parents and where we come from, and just hate our parents. Like, I hate my mom, I hate my dad, you know what I mean? But it's just like, I wanted to do some self-discovery and really get into some deep healing. And so I needed to review where I came from. You have things from your parents, you know what I'm saying? Use the things that your parents gave you to be successful. My dad is a free spirit, but he is gifted with the computer. He is gifted with the technology. He could build a computer. That's what he does. Okay? He's 1-2s on the computers. My mom, planning, strategizing. Just the fact that I have a job, you know what I'm saying? The fact that I have a job, the fact that I have kept my job for as long as I have, that is due to my mom. Every time I get into a jam, my mom is there. Like, my mom, she don't care. It don't matter what happened, what you need. You know what I mean? Like, I respect that. You know, I know that if something happened to me, I can call my mom and my dad, and it ain't gonna be no talking. It ain't gonna be no talking. It ain't gonna be, listen, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you have to make peace. You have to make peace with your parents. Now that we have Mother's Day coming up, you know, we can sit with the feelings of, you know, sit with those feelings, but just, you have to make peace with your parents. I'm distracted. So somebody is sending me a message. It says, who is Sammy Sam? I feel distracted. I can't focus. Y'all know I'm on the spectrum. Sammy, what is your question? I don't know. Girl, we got to do more research on the chats because I don't know how to work that either. Okay, let me go through my list and make sure, because I think we did a good job. Reclaiming your inner child. Okay, reclaiming your inner child. Yes, so let's talk about that part. Okay. I feel like it's a, hold on, wait. Can we fully heal from, okay, yes. I'm not going to say you can fully heal from narcissistic abuse because, you know, depending on the type of narcissism abuse, depending on what you went through, it might not, like, you'll always have those scars. Like, you know, even though I made peace with my parents and everything like that, it might not, like, we can still revisit it. You know what I'm saying? And so even now, sometimes things happen and you be like, I thought we fixed this. I thought that we fixed these feelings. But if your parents are not fully healed, or you're dealing, like, say it's a relationship, like, hold on, when you say your inner child, can you explain the same thing as subconscious mind? Inner child. I feel like your inner child, it can be the same as your subconscious mind, but I wouldn't say. I feel like your inner child is that being inside of you, based on as a child. Your subconscious mind is what you are thinking and feeling on a level that you're not aware. That doesn't necessarily have to be you as a child, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So when I say healing your inner child, that's that part of you that doing all the things that you would have loved to do without the effects of other people. You know, as a child, you might have things that you are, like, you had your hobbies, but somebody told you, like, no, that's not a viable option for you. Or, you know, people just talking down, like, you wanted to wear polka dots and they said polka dots was not in style. And so as a child, you put that away, you suppress that, you know? And so that becomes a problem for you. But it's not necessarily like your subconscious mind could be a variety of things. I feel like the inner child is a subset, if that makes sense. So, yeah, like healing your inner child, you're really going to have to, one, create those boundaries. If your parents are into it, you can have those dialogues, but I'm not going to lie. Everybody does not. I be reading stories. Everybody does not have, like, good parents that are willing to have the conversation. I feel like I'm blessed in the area where the parents are willing, because they want to maintain the relationship, and they're on the level where they're willing to have those conversations. They want to maintain the relationship, like they want to be there, and they might not understand, like, all the spirituality and everything like that goes into it, or even the psychology, right? But they want to keep those channels, and they're willing to learn. Some parents are not willing to learn. Some family members, they're not willing. They're not, and you just, they want to stay the way that they are. You know what I mean? Like, they want to be whatever it is that they're, like, they just want to keep it simple and continue their behavior the way in which they've been doing it, right? So that is a whole different dynamic. And so if you have a situation where your parents are not willing, family members are not willing to do the work on themselves, right? You got to cut that off, right? And when they're ready, right? Because that's what we did. We cut our family off until they were ready, you know? But it's like, I was raised to be hyper independent. you know? So I don't necessarily, not saying you don't need anybody, because to say that you don't need anybody, that is a lie, because we all need somebody, okay? But I am hyper dependent, independent. So I always make sure that I take care of myself regardless of what happens. Like, we keep these lights on, we keep the air running, we keep things going, you know? But it's just kind of like, sometimes you're going to need people, but you have to just create like your own network. So getting out there, meeting different people, joining different support groups, you know. I'm not going to say meditation and everything, because that's what I like. But you could just go to a sports club, like anything that you want, trying something that's community-based, where you can meet other people that are like-minded and like the things that you like. And you create your own support network outside of the dynamic that you were in, if that makes sense. So, of course, you're journaling. Of course, you're doing your affirmations and different things of that nature. But you also want to do things, don't forget about going outside. I feel like it's easy for us to do the paperwork part, you know, but we need to go outside and reconnect with other people. And because reconnecting with other people is going to reinforce that all people are not like the people that you grew up with. If you never open those channels up, then you're always going to be like, people are going to treat you the way, excuse the lighting, people are going to treat you based off the fact of what you're used to. And so if you think that people are always going to treat you bad because your family treated you bad, then that's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you want to make sure that you're giving yourself an opportunity to break down any of the negative feedback loops. So if you grew up and your parent was like, you ain't going to be able to do this because this, and this, then you have to find a way to challenge it. For example, you know, being on social media and everything does not pay. It does not do this. It does not do that. Well, now we're going to do social media and we're going to find out that social media does pay. And so you are canceling the negative feedback loop, whatever it might be. That's just for me, like example for me, but like create an opportunity where you can experience the thing, and whatever you thought, okay, the negative, whatever was negative about it, it's going to eradicate that. That is how you get rid of the negative feedback loops, okay, by proving that wrong, okay? So if we said if your negative feedback loop was 3 + 3 is 7, and that is what you believed, well, we are going to go and get some manipulatives, right? And we are going to count it, because we know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to count it all together. We're going to put 3 over here, 3 over here. We're going to count it. And now we know that 3 + 3 is 6, right? So now we have eradicated that feedback loop that said that 3 + 3 is 7. That is how you have to create an opportunity. Create an opportunity to eliminate the negative feedback loop. So whatever the negativity, the thought is, create an opportunity where it will be different, okay? And as these, like, you experience more things being different, you're like, well, what else is wrong? You see what I'm saying? Because it works on, you believe this one thing, then you believe this. If you believe, okay, I'm never gonna find love because I have red hair or something like that. You just something crazy like that. Never gonna find love because you got red hair. Well, you find other people that have red hair and they have found love. Well, what is it about them for them to have the red hair and they have found the love? What exactly, there's something there, there's something's wrong with the math. Something's wrong with these thought loops. It's not making sense. So whatever we thought, it's not what we thought. It's not making sense. It's not adding up because we don't, you see what I'm saying? So you have to create, like, we have to ask yourself, why do we think this? Is there something within myself? And that is the reason. So what is it within myself for me to come up with, oh, only people, if other people with other hair, I have red hair, I can't find the love. What is that? Where do we get that negative concept from? How do we change the negative concept based off of that? That thought right there. Because now you have this thought and you have to disprove it. That's what we're doing. We're disproving the negative thoughts. Okay? We're reframing it. But you can reframe it by just saying something different. But I like to reframe things by proving it wrong. Because yeah, you're more likely to believe something that you say over and over and over again. Okay? If you say the opposite, you're more likely to. But I want to have proof. I want to prove that this thing that I thought was wrong. And so now I have tangible proof that I thought that this was this, but it's not that, because this is that. And we can see it and we can touch it. If I count out these batteries, excuse my voice, if I count these batteries out and I know that 3 + 3, they said it was 7, but I'm counting it with I can touch this. It's kinesthetic. This is something that I can see, touch, and feel. Listen, that's a better feedback loop. I can trust that. I can believe that. I'm more likely to believe something that I can see right in front of myself. So it's like that is a great way for you to reframe negative thought patterns and different things of that nature, and heal your inner child, because you have these subconscious things. You have all of this stuff. It's negative programming, and it keeps you stuck, keeps you in a state of feeling like you need to heal. And the other part, feeling like you need to heal, feeling like, oh, there's something within you that you always have to fix. Like, can we ever fully heal? I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes it is very hard to fully heal, especially if you have not put yourself in different circumstances. If you choose to stay in the same things that keep you sick, then you're more likely to never fully heal, because you never experience life outside of somebody else's algorithm, living within somebody else's terms and conditions and different things. You only believe what other people tell you based off of their experiences. Most people tell you what they can do or it's all within their experiences and their perceptions, but their experiences and their perception is flawed. So if you have a flawed argument and you are believing things based off of a flawed argument, then that means your logic, your ideas, all your stuff is now flawed as well, because you had no business. You have to experience life. You have to experience relationships. You have to experience everything that you're supposed to experience within your own perception, within your own vibe. You have to clean the slate. So if you're willing to do that, then yeah, you might be able to heal. But even with healing, even with going to therapy, even with working with somebody or whatever, there will be times where you could experience something and you could be like, oh, I thought I was healed, but then this happened and I was triggered. You know what I mean? And so now you have to deal with, why do I feel triggered in this moment? And what can I do about that? And so you just have to work on healing yourself even a little bit more than that. You see what I'm saying? I don't think that you can ever fully heal yourself, but I'm sure you can get to like a 90 or 95% healed rate, you know? But yeah, my voice is about to go out. Woo. Excuse me. My voice is about to go out. I don't even talk this much, girl. So yeah. And so connecting it to the Divine Mother before I get off of here is like, hold on. I don't want to say like using the concept of the Divine Mother as a, what is the word? Like escapism, you know what I mean? Like the fairy godmother vibe, but it's just kind of like, for me, it's a way for me to look at things like what a mother is supposed to be. Like a mother is supposed to love you unconditionally. A mother is supposed to always protect you, and as your child, put you first, because you are the child, right? Mothers make choices for the child, the family, wisdom and understanding, right? And so I use it as a tool to be a better person and look at it like, I ain't gonna lie, sometimes I'm like, you know, how could a mother make certain choices? How could a mother ever make these types of decisions? And thank God I'm in education, because I got those answers. So let me just tell you a story and then I'm gonna get off of here. Okay, so I was like, how can mothers make choices like this? How can they be willfully, you know, enabling of bad behavior? I had an experience where I had one of my little favorite mentees or whatever, and she was just not making good choices in her interpersonal relationships, okay? And I just had to have a conversation with her like, ma'am, you are choosing bad interpersonal relationships, and I don't want that for you. Like, why are we making these types of choices? There's only so much that you can do, you know, because that ain't my child, you know what I'm saying? But it's just kind of like, you don't want, like, you can tell what path a child is going down, and you would prefer for them to go down a different path. But what I've learned, and this is something that, like, I be praying, I be asking for wisdom and understanding, and I get those answers. Like, you can want the child to go down a different path and be a better person and make better choices, but you cannot make those choices for the child. The child have to make the choice. The child have to, all you can do is trust that you have given them what they need and just be there for them, but you just not. And you love your child, like you love your child so much that it doesn't matter what they do, you gonna hold them down regardless. And that might even mean sticking with them, you know, even in the face of them actually being a bad person. Like, you don't want to believe that that child is bad. You don't want to believe that. They making bad choices. They are not bad. But at what point do you be like, that child is bad, making bad choices? You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's the tippy toe. And some parents cannot do that, right? They can't, they make excuses for their kids and all that. And so now I understand how a parent could love their child so much to where they would make excuses for their child. I could definitely understand that. You love your kids, you know, but the parents that do not care about their kids, I can't identify with that. I have not been able to understand, like, even if a parent was not prepared to be a parent, there have been plenty of parents that were not prepared to be parents and they still did well. You know what I mean? So that is a personality flaw. And I feel like some things you can't fix. Okay. And then if anybody tell you can fix it, you can't. You can't fix it, because you're going to always be trying to figure out, well, why was it like this? Why couldn't it have been a different thing? I feel like throughout our lives, we get what we're supposed to get to build our character, you know? Like, if you would have had a different set of parents or a different family dynamic, you probably would have turned out different. I probably would have been a different person if I had parents that were, I'm not going to say competent, but that is the first word that came out of my brain right there. It was competent. If I had parents that were, you know, like, people had, like, celebrating their children and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it took me years to get, oh, I'm so proud of you. You know what I mean? Like, we're so proud that you go against the grain and you don't care what anybody think. That started when I was a child, and I had to do that. I had to stop caring what other people thought, because it was always, oh, this ain't gonna work, that ain't gonna do this. I had to create that mental strength within myself. I had to, because if that was the case, we would have never had it. So now we're an adult. Oh, we love the fact that you are so headstrong. I had to be headstrong. Where do you think that came from? You see what I'm saying? So all these personality traits that we have now as an adult, it was bred. It was bred in the fire of childhood, or lack thereof. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, you have to make peace with what you've been through and all of that, you know? And then the other part to that is, like in my last video, I talked about how, you know, my mom was going through all this other stuff, and that's a perfect time for you to be like, you know, revenge is served on the cold or whatever. But that's not who I am, you know what I mean? Like, it was a humbling moment, because from one moment to the next, you do not know how much time that you have left, right? And so I understand why people can say you only get one mom, you know, because she wasn't that bad. You know, she wasn't that bad. And I respect the lessons that she taught me, because it made me who I am today. You know, did we always agree with her and her, like, the things that, like, no, we did not, you know? And then were we put into positions where we had to be the parent for her, you know? Yeah, you know, all of that. But you know what? We love our parent. Like, I was that person that people would tell me you only get one mom. And I'm like, right? And the fact that I can sit here and be like, you know, I get it now. Wow. That's growth for me. So if you're ever like, oh my God, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Because no, we're not going to make excuses for the bad behavior, but at the same time, you don't want to let their choices suck you dry and keep you from becoming the best that you can possibly be. You know, and you don't want to, like, some people have messed up family dynamics, and that is their personality, and they make that who they are, and they never do anything with their life because they're stuck in this negative feedback loop, and they didn't figure out how to listen. All your family was supposed to do was give you life. After that, you have to make your life whatever. You have to create your life in your image, and people will fall away along the way, but it's just kind of like you have to take whatever you got, and you got to put your sandwich together with your own condiments. Put something together and make it do what it do, right? And so that is what I'm talking about. I don't feel like we talked about, I don't know. Did we talk about everything? I feel like we did. I feel like I talked about it in my own way. Like reparenting yourself. Being the mother that you always wanted to have, right? And people are like, how do you do that? Again, you're doing things that you always wanted to do, you know, always wanted to do. And also not just that, but just everything that you ever had a negative thought pattern form with, you need to change that. Create a new concept. I feel like I did that. I'm just trying to make sure. I did right. Yeah. Did we say making peace? We forgive them. Right? We forgive them, but don't get it twisted. Maintain your boundaries and stuff like that. Because you can easily get caught up in being the good daughter. That's what I was. Like the past years, I did an audit on my life, and I was always the daughter that was going and spending the night and taking care of everybody, pulling the family together, and just being that matriarchal thing. And then I felt like I was burning myself out. I couldn't get and keep relationships because the relationships felt like I was spending too much time with my family. You know what I'm saying? Like having to choose family over relationships and different things of that nature. And it's just like, it's not healthy to spend so much time. Like I was spending a lot of time with my family. You know what I mean? And I felt like maybe trying to overcompensate to try to, like, if me and my mom had a bad relationship and we're trying to recompensate the time that we were apart, you see what I'm saying? But there's a balance. There's a healthy line between rebuilding a relationship and dedicating and doing all of this stuff to try to, you know what I mean? Like, you just do your part. Just do your part. And they will figure it out, honestly. So I think that's it, y'all. Like, I feel like that's it. Mother's Day is coming up. And I'm not going to lie. I really like spending time with my mom. We didn't get along growing up, you know, but it's gotten better now. And for anybody that is, you know what I mean? Like, it gets better if your parent is willing to, you know what I mean? Because this allows you, like, if you make peace with that divine feminine aspect, you are able to manifest. And I'm going to talk about that in my other video. You know, because you're probably like, why is this important? When I talk about doing the ancestor altar, it's going to all click on why you should make peace with the matriarch, the divine feminine, all of those different aspects and things like that. But yeah, I hope this video made sense. I'm checking my chat. I think I answered the question. I'm sorry if I was all over the place, and I'm sorry if it was long, but I just want to get my point across. Okay, so I will see you in the next live. Have a wonderful day. Bye.